Alright guys, subscribe back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Valorant News, and only with 1 week remaining here in the North American and European main events before the playoffs and the Masters to come just after that. Sinatraa has revealed his perspective on the best players in the entire game. The top 3 in his opinion, not necessarily including the guys that just have incredible raw aim. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. We smashed through 19,000 subscribers as well. Really appreciate it, guys. 20k very much on the horizon right now. If all you guys watching this that haven't yet subscribed right now, we'd get to like 30k immediately. So very much appreciate all the support lately. But yeah, let's dive straight into this from Play Valorant because they confirm Split is back in the queues because yesterday we saw that kind of crazy bug that happened with Jet and Raze. You can get on top of the light fittings effectively is that kind of what they think they were on Split. They've now kind of issued, well, they've fixed that apparently, and now it's all good and ready to go again. So yeah, Split is now officially fixed, so good stuff. Now speaking of maps, this is well, the latest teaser that we have for the 8th map that's coming to the game, which I think it was called like Pit or whatever, so I'm guessing they're going for like an Atlantis type vibes here. So it looks like it's going to be an underwater type map. The rumor had it before it was going to be somewhere in Lisbon, or like there was going to be kind of like trams running around and stuff, so not really sure what to read into this, guys, but yeah, definitely I just wanted to share it because this is seemingly an indication of the new map in the game. We know that all the Valorant maps try and have something kind of unique about them, right? Something rather interesting, and well, this being underwater could be a different story. Now, like, I don't really know how that's even going to play out, if there is going to be potentially water mechanics in the game, if you can fall in the water, or like, I don't know, it could go incredibly wrong, but of course they want it to be competitively viable as well, or maybe there's no water involved at all, it's just kind of in a, dome underwater, it's like an Atlantis type vibe, I don't really know, but there's going to be something unique about it, we shall see. This is kind of the latest teaser we have. Now every day at this point there's some more news about the franchising ecosystem that might be coming up. So we looked at yesterday, right, the fact that many organizations in the North American and the European side won't be getting a spot. We talked about Sentinels probably getting one, but the likes of, version 1, the guards, like, will TSM get a spot? Will Exec get a spot? Like all these questions right now that we don't really know the answer to next season, because probably there's only going to be either a 10 or 12 team league in, let's just say, the Americas in general. Now, the rumor has it from Bo as well that Riot could apparently give APAC spots for franchising to NA or EU organizations instead of local organizations in APAC. This is, probably to be expected, but it's still a rather big deal. Let's say you are a version 1, you are, T1, for example, and you're trying to get a spot in the North American, or I suppose it would just the Americas franchise league for next season, and they say, look, we don't really want you in here, we've kind of got our teams that we want to have, but we can offer you a spot in the Asia Pacific region. Now, of course, that'd be rather frustrating to, let's just say, local organizations in those regions, in Asia Pacific in general, if big North American organizations that got rejected from their own league, or of course European organizations at that as well, then just start taking over all the APAC spots, like, not necessarily great for regional development, but look, that's kind of why I would argue we probably want to have more spots in these leagues than seemingly is going to be available, right? But from Riot's perspective, they might just say, well, okay, look, this is better for the bottom line at the end of the day. It's better that we have these organizations somewhere within our ecosystem, even if it's not necessarily in the kind of, the side or the league that they wanted to be in initially, right? So this is something that we've got to keep in mind, that it's very possible that if a version 1 or a T1 or whoever doesn't get a spot in North America, they might well just say, okay, look, we'll just join the APAC league if Riot wants to offer us that, and we'll just find a team over there, right? So that's an interesting possibility right here. Now, this is also from a crew, right, kind of, Kanpeki's former lineup. They've applied, seemingly, they've kind of, announced their application to the partnership ecosystem as well. TSM have already confirmed they're doing it. 100 Thieves, I believe he also kind of goes on to say that, they've also said that they're going to try and do it as well, or John Robinson from 100 Thieves kind of said that they're kind of, going through the process as well to apply for partnership. Like, some teams are going to say they've applied, some teams aren't going to say anything, right? But of course, the top teams, I'm pretty sure, like, Hastra as well from OpTic, he certainly hinted as well that, they're also looking to apply for partnership, as of course you'd expect. All the big teams will apply, but, the guys like a crew is an interesting one for them, right? Because I guess they're thinking, look, it's unlikely that a crew will get a spot in the North American side, but who knows if they think, okay, a crew, they've done a few things, they've done a pretty good job of talent development, like, they've built a name for themselves to some degree, maybe we can find a spot for them in APAC or, something like that, right? It's kind of unlikely, but I suppose they're just going to give it a go regardless. Now, speaking of that region, some updates actually on what's going to happen with the China side of things here for the Valorant World Championship, of course, that's going on in Istanbul in Turkey. So we know the fact the way this works effectively is that, from different regions, the best teams get to go straight to champions, but then there's a last chance qualifier from various regions where teams also can qualify. So the best teams kind of from most of these regions will go anyway, but there is a last chance qualifier situation where the top 3 in terms of VCT circuit point teams, and from Korea and Japan, and then top 2 teams based on invitation from a third-party tournament in China will attend the LCQ in East Asia. Some pretty exciting stuff actually, that there are going to be a couple of Chinese teams over the LCQ for East Asia, I'm guessing out of these 8 teams, 3 from Korea, 3 from Japan, 2 from China, one of them that wins will go through to Valorant Champions as well in Istanbul later on this season. So that was kind of an interesting announcement. There's some, Chinese teams will potentially be able to make it, right? Because there has been some talk about this, like, what's going to happen with the kind of Chinese Valorant side when we go into APAC franchising next year, because there's currently an uncertainty in China actually getting a spot there next season. And therefore, several Chinese organizations apparently are looking to potentially invest in Hong Kong or Taiwan for Valorant rather than kind of domestic territory, I suppose, and Invictus Gaming being one of them, right? So we'll definitely keep you guys updated on this. Rather interesting set of events. Tough to predict exactly how this develops going forward. Let's dive into this then, right? So ahead of the final week of the kind of main event here for the Challengers front, there's been lots of talk from the likes of Sinatraa, who are the best players in the world right now. He's not necessarily looking too far out of his own region, right? Of course, I'm sure lots of people are looking at Turko or Alfire, for example, or however exactly you pronounce it for the Fnatic sides from the European region. But Sinatraa's looking at a lot of the players that he's got experience playing with or against or watching on a regular basis from the North American side and thinking who exactly is the best in his eyes. He mentioned a few very interesting names right here. I'll share the clip for you guys in a second. Sick being pretty much the one that mostly comes to mind on Sentinels, saying that, he seems to be pretty frustrated that Sick and Sentinels aren't having the success that maybe they deserve, given Sick's incredible talent, and he believes that in terms of his kind of versatility and his ability, he's right up there with the best in the game. And also mentioned Crashies as well, formerly Envy, now of course on OpTic, the fact that from Sinatra's perspective, he's that guy that really comes to the forefront in terms of actually dealing incredible damage and being super consistent in trade fragging. And he says that look, a lot of the guys like TenZ or Ye, for example, with incredible aim, he doesn't really consider that to be such a feature in terms of best players in the game. He prefers players that play different roles but still have an incredible amount of impact.
He's just always consistently been just good, bro, forever. It used to be Sick. He was in my top 3 always. It was Sick number 1. Who was number 2, bro? It wasn't Crashies, it was someone else. Was it Shaz? I think Shaz was number 2, but they both I don't know. They don't do that well anymore. But Crashies was number 3, bro, but this guy's always consistently good. Everyone's gonna say no, everyone's gonna say yay, bro. I don't care about stats, and I don't care about people who just have good aim, bro. I stray away from liking those people who are saying they're the best.
So I thought it was an interesting discussion really there from Sinatraa, right? Because usually people say, okay, TenZ, right, this guy's aim is incredible. Ye, for example, right now on the OpTic side. But he says, look, I don't really care too much. If you've got good aim, it doesn't really bother me. It's more about what you do on the map and what roles you play and how impactful you are in the team with the role that you're playing that makes me decide whether you're going to be the best player in the game, at least in my top 3 list or not. So always interesting, I think, to hear the professional player's perspective on this, because I think the fan perspective is often rather different compared to what professionals or former professionals see in certain players. Now, I did want to look at some of these numbers right actually, because Crashies right here, his numbers are great considering what he does on the team. This is past 60 days here, mostly dropping some good ADR numbers, good KD numbers, good cast as well, of course, on most of these agents, which is pretty key as well. Wanted to look at Marv though as well. I'm not sure he mentioned Marv in that clip, right, but I think Marv would certainly be, from my perspective, a player that I would put in a very similar category to Crashies. Unbelievable in clutch situations, Marv, incredibly versatile on so many different agents, and in terms of pure numbers, has been practically spectacular the last few months. I mean, look at these KDs the last 60 days. And also got to be said at the Masters as well, right? I think Marv was probably the MVP for this team at that event. So when you look at it from this perspective, it's wow, OpTic really do have quite some players on their team, because they've got Crashies, who Sinatraa rates very highly. They've got Marv there as well, and you also got to mention Ye. And you can't really get away from mentioning Ye, because look, Ye, yes, he might just be raw aim gun skill type player, but that of course is very valuable on a team. If you've got a guy that just does not miss, that of course is rather useful. And it's not like it's just aim, right? So to get as many kills as Ye gets, you need to be positioning yourself incredibly well. You need to have a great brain on you as well to reposition in certain ways that put you in position to get easy shots. So I think, there's an element of which Sinatraa was look, I value players that don't just shoot straight, but I think there's also, you've got to give credit to the guys like Ye, because there's not many chamber players in the world who are performing at this type of a level. Ye, Turko, kind of being some good examples at the present time. But I mean, his numbers, the last 60 days, he has a 1.4 KD with a, 260 ACS per map. It's honestly incredible. He went negative last week in their last series for the first time in so many months, right? So I think you've got to give Ye his props. But to Sinatraa, Sick and Crashy standing out still as some of the best players in the world, right? And who knows what happens with that Sentinels roster going forward as well. Let's dive in then to the final week of matches in the various regions. We'll talk about North America, of course. Big week for the Guard this week. They play one match against NRG. That is a critical game. The winner of that goes through to the playoffs. The loser certainly does not, which will be the end pretty much of their season. It actually depends, of course, what the Guard or NRG, they can both pretty still make last chance qualifiers. qualifier. But yeah, making it to the playoffs is a big deal because the guards kind of need to, just because right now they're sitting kind of pretty in terms of, well, their points total for qualifying for, well, automatically going to champions, let's just say, not having to go through the LCQ because they won last time's playoffs. Like, they have quite a lot of points in the circuit right now. So if they don't make the playoffs this time, that's a really big deal because they won't put up that many points this time around, which means that other teams are more likely to take their second spots there because OpTic is certainly going to be number one in terms of circuit points from North America. But at the second seed that goes to champions automatically, they want to be that second seed. They're not going to be able to do that really if they're not at the playoffs, right? And they certainly need to be, I think. And well, of course, that happens this weekend. EMEA looks like this. Both groups relatively clear cut. Group B did get rather interesting though because M3 champions now at 2-2. I think they lost to Big, so there's still kind of all to play for down here in Group B. Group A, there is relatively clear cut with the best teams in that region: Fnatic, FPX, and Ascend. No surprises there. These are the games this weekend: Ascend, FPX, M3 champions, Liquid. Those are the two games of this evening. Some important ones, of course, as the weekend progresses as well. Can Fnatic close out the 5-0 up against G2? We shall see about that one. This then the North American side. Group A, again, kind of clear cut. Three teams at 3-1. Like last week, it was possible that we could go into this week with all 2-2s, but I mean, it turns out it's 3-1 across the board and 1-3 across the board. But of course, one team here will get the fourth spot. These three teams are solidified, but of course, well, things could certainly change in terms of seeding in Group A, and seeding is important because the number one seeds gets a bye in the winners bracket. That's rather crucial. But yeah, the Guard or NRG, the winner of that gets the fourth seed is, I believe, how it works. TSM lose all the appropriate tiebreakers, unfortunately, because they're the only team they beat was 100 Thieves, so they're going to be out of it effectively regardless. And Group B right here is, again, relatively clear cut, but still, it's FaZe that did qualify, I believe. I'm pretty sure Cloud9 and Sentinels, both of those teams can't make it, so it's really all to play for in terms of seeding in Group B now, heading into this final week. And these are the games of the weekend, the two games of today: Exit versus TSM in Group A. Can TSM kind of regather some pride from this stage? And then FaZe Evil Geniuses on the other side. That's going to be critical actually for seeding, because if EG win, I'm pretty sure they lock up the number one seed. If they lose though, they certainly open the door. And FaZe, honestly, if they win, they can still have a chance to get a little bit better than their current standings here at 3-2. 100 Thieves play later in the weekend, but I thought it's kind of interesting for Will Miner because he's kind of running the numbers right now on 100 Thieves, and they actually are tied for first again in anti-eco round win percentage and first in eco round win percentage as of right now. So we saw the other day they were incredibly good in 5v4s and 4 versus 5s. Seems like they're very good in these kind of situations as well. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on a like button. Told you YouTube gods, this is a good video. I'd also like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Valorant community. Thank you as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.